Hi everyone. Last Sunday, after dinner at around 9 p.m., I started feeling pretty bad. I had some cramps in the stomach, actually closer to the liver, and I had never experienced something like that, this kind of pain. So, and it was pretty constant. When I was breathing evenly, I could also feel the pain, even when I was walking. So so I decided to call my parents to tell them my situation, and my mom told me to call a place to ask some information about some conditions to see what they will recommend doing. So that's pretty much what I did. And so the nurse asked me some questions, and I also told her about my situation, and that at the end of last year, I had a blood test which had elevated liver enzymes. So I wasn't sure if it was related to that, but and then she asked me to tell her how much I suffered, on a scale to 1 to 10, and I said hate. So she told me to not take any risks and to go to the emergency. Um, so I called my mom back, and I told her that I was going to take a taxi and go there, which I did. Uh, so walking to the taxi, getting downstairs, I suffered, sure, but it wasn't too bad. So to go to the hospital. So when I arrived, I told her my condition, and then I took a number. I entered the place, took a number, and I waited. So then didn't take too long that a nurse called me, and also answered similar questions, and and then I went back to the waiting room and was called back again to go in a small room where they called me through the phone, actually, to give them some personal information for security reasons because of COVID-19. And then I came back to the waiting room, and I waited a little longer for them to call me to go to another room where I was going to meet a doctor. So when I arrived there, they told me to put in hospital, gone, uh, and I waited for some amount of time, and then I met the doctor, and he checked my condition, and he asked me some questions, and he said that I was going to take a blood test, and a they're going to check my stomach, make a scan to see if there was anything wrong. So while I was waiting for the nurse to come to take the blood test, at some point I started to feel pretty dizzy. Okay. I didn't feel well, and I even felt that at some point that I was going to faint. So I tried to go a little bit outside my room to ask for help, and I even removed my mask a little bit because to be able to breathe more easily. So they asked me to wait and lay on my back, and and that they were going to send someone. So then the nurse came, and she put a catheter on my arm to inject me a medicine that to help calm my stomach and to take a blood test. She also told me that they were going to give me some morphine, but I told her that I didn't feel that it was necessarily appropriate to take morphine for this kind of suffering, and I had never taken it before, so I rejected it, and it ended up being the right decision actually, because as I was laying on my back, um, she was taking my blood and everything, and for some reason I started feeling better, and even while I was breathing, I wasn't feeling that the pain anymore. So, but the problem though is that I had to go to the bathroom. Uh, so I asked her, and I tried to get up a little bit to see if I was going to feel dizzy. So I waited a little bit, and then she gave me something so that I can put urine in it, so that they could make some tests. And I went to the bathroom, and that's pretty much what I did. I also had a bowel movement, so it helped me. So then I thought about the possibility that the reason why I suffered was because I had eaten some spoiled mushrooms. Okay. And that it had to take some time to digest, and so that's what I thought about. And then I came back and I went to go do my scan, okay, my stomach scan, and then when I came back, this is when I had to wait a lot longer for the doctor to come back. So when he finally came back, he told me that all the tests were fine, that everything was fine for me. So I told him about the possibility that it could be related to spoiled mushrooms, and we also talked about my elevated liver enzymes that he saw, but it could be related to another condition that I may have, called like Gilbert disease or something like that. So it may not be a big deal, but in terms of the elevated liver enzymes, it could really be related to that and nothing serious. So this may not even be related to the pain that I experienced, but maybe. I cannot say for sure if it's a mix. But so he asked me if I wanted to stay a little bit longer just in case, and I said no because I'd felt pretty good for a lot of time, so I wanted to go. And so I had to wait for the nurse to come back to remove the catheter and to give me a paper to confirm that I had gone to the hospital, because there's currently a curfew in Montreal from 8 p.m. to around 5 a.m. So it was necessary. So what happened? Okay, so then she helped me, and I finally went out of the hospital. So okay, when I was out of the hospital, it was pretty cold for me outside, so I started shaking a lot for some amount of time. So I had to call a taxi, okay? Well, at least get a taxi. But the thing is that I didn't turn I actually didn't go in the direction of the closest street, okay? And there were probably some taxis there waiting for me, okay? But I actually went into the other direction a little bit longer to another street. So I kept looking for a taxi, and I think that I remember seeing one, but it was going too fast, so I kind of missed it. So I kept walking a little bit more, and this is when I saw a police car that was coming. And but this car didn't actually stop, okay, to talk to me, okay, because of the curfew. It didn't happen. But so I continued walking a little bit, and this is when I just took my cell phone and I called a taxi, which came pretty quickly. So when I entered the cab, the taxi driver asked me a lot of questions to be convinced that I was actually legal, that I was here for a good reason because of the curfew. But because of I told him that I went to the hospital, but because obviously he will have expected me to. There was probably some taxis waiting there, and I told him that I didn't see any. Well, that's it. It probably didn't feel credible, so he asked me more questions and to be convinced that I was fine. And we talked. Actually, I talked about my condition. I told him what I currently experience and what I experience in some conditions that I have, and we talked for until I arrived at my apartment, which is really appreciated, actually. So I arrived at around 2:40 a.m. and obviously I was tired, so I tried to go to bed. It took me a little longer to fall asleep. And then the following morning when I woke up and I checked into my fridge for the mushrooms, because I had bought actually a lot more mushrooms because they were in sale, okay? And generally, and actually different brands of mushrooms. So some of those didn't have the expiration date. So I assumed that the ones that I hate didn't have one because I checked it pretty quickly. But actually, by checking it more carefully, I realized that those that I'd eaten actually had an expiration date, and that they had been spoiled for around 6 days. So it seems that my pain was pretty much related to that. But because I had never experienced a pain like that. And it was the first time. The only different thing that I did was that I ate some spoiled mushrooms, spoiled for 6 days for the first time in my life. So I don't think that it's a coincidence. But it's still surprising that spoiled mushrooms after only 6 days could actually cause this kind of pain. So I think that I'll be more careful in the future. But one thing that is appreciated is that while I suffered, what I like is that at least I experienced something different. Every day, my routine is pretty much around the same thing. So this is something that is really appreciated. And it's kind of strange, but even if I suffered, it feels like if I have to suffer again sometimes to experience stuff like that, or something that can be different, okay, like when I actually talk with the taxi driver, this was a moment that was like, it was the first time that I talked to a taxi driver like that for that long. So for me, it was a different experience, and I want to salute him. Actually, I want to salute him, actually. But it was really appreciated, like I said. And I hope that in the future I will do certain things that will actually make me experience different things like that, okay? Because I think that it's very useful. That is something that could be very useful for my mental health. So thanks for watching, and see you in another video.